Alright, today on Gearbox Garage I'm going to be redoing a video that I did before. It was a 3-part, 4-minute video before I learned how to edit, or at least the basics of editing, and before I realized you had to unlock your phone when you turn it sideways so that the image doesn't have the black bars on the side. So I'm hoping that this will turn out better than that one. And we're going to start here. What this video is going to be is basically what I do when I have to resurface a flywheel, either because it's an oddball, it's because the customer doesn't want to buy a new one, if it's something that I'm working on and I know that it's not that bad, it's just got some maybe light surface rust or this and that. This one came out of a AX5 Jeep Wrangler, and which has the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder, and as you can see there's a lot of hot spots, and in this particular flywheel I would either get another one or get it resurfaced. Normally when you resurface a single flat face flywheel, they're usually around 35 bucks, depending on your area. The issue is I don't have anybody in my area. The other issue is I can get a brand new one from Amazon shipped to me for 55 bucks. So I usually just stock them, and it's a quicker turnaround, and instead of spending $35 to have your old flywheel, which you might have damage on their starter ring gear, I just go new. It makes just everybody's more happy. But in case you have to clean one up to reuse, this is what I use. I use a little die grinder with a flap disc. Now, I save all of my old ones because there's different conditions, different applications. If I'm working on something that's completely oily and greasy and nasty, I'll find one that's already nasty, like those two, and I'll go from there. If it's something that I'm not sure on how much a bite it's going to take, I'll take one of these, try it, get a good feel for it before I put on a new pad if needed. So on this particular one, we're going to start off with what's on here, about half wore out, and it'll still have a good bite, and I can control the amount of it eats or cleans off the surface just by how much pressure. I will not be putting a lot of pressure. I typically will start right over here on one side, and I'll kind of just move it back and forth, kind of get an idea. You don't have to go much farther than this. This here is outside of the clutch disc. This is where the actual mounting area for the pressure plate. So this reason it's dirty is because it's to the elements. So I will work and at least get up, something like that, where I'm working that line, and I will do a little light sanding, kind of get an idea, find a couple spots like these little hot spots, and put a little bit of pressure on them, see just how much time I have before they disappear. Then I kind of use that time to continue on the whole flywheel. I will, unlike the last video, I turned off the camera when I was recording or grinding because it was so noisy. This time I'll edit all that out. So here we go. Alright, so that was a real quick pass, just so I can kind of see the high and lows. Like here's some pitting. Any of these little dark spots are going to be a little bit pitting. Either it's going to be pitting from rust or some type of metal contamination in between the discs, or just age and fatigue. So we'll zoom in a little bit and see if we can look at some of the other edges. And you can still see these little black spots are little divots or rust, or just bad spots that were in there. So we'll do a second pass. So after the second pass, you can still see there's deviations, but getting close. At this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a new pad and I'm going to put it on, and we're going to I'm going to show you just what the difference between two passes of one that's got some age to it and a new one. I would think that this one pass with the new one would be a little more than two passes of that. And you can also spend a little bit more time, but you want to kind of start and go all the way around with the same amount of time in any given area, so that you can kind of make sure you're keeping it flat and smooth. It's just cost effective just to have a new one for a customer. But in most of my stuff that I would do, you know, I'm always changing, pulling the engine tranny or transfer case and redoing something. So if I did this and I pull it out in 10,000 miles or so and there's hot streaks, then I know the clutch is riding weird and I would need to go ahead and either get it resurfaced professionally or get it replaced. But this is a general idea of what I do. I'll show you now what the new clutch would look like and what steps I go through to when I order a new one, and the product that a new one looks like, along with how I clean it. This is a new Luck flywheel for an AX5 behind the 2.5 4-cylinder and a lot of the Jeeps. Something that I wanted to point out while making this other video is most of them will come with a film that will protect it from rusting. And what you're going to want to do, is you're going to want to clean all that oil or glue or quite whatever it is that they put on there. And I get just regular rubbing alcohol and I put a nozzle on it so I can clean it, or I can squirt it. clean it as good as I can get it now, and then after I get it on and bolted up, I will clean it again and make sure I didn't put any fingerprints on it or get any other dirt in that process. Alright, well, just a few seconds and we were able to get that nice and clean. You can see the little honing when they turned the when they made the new flywheel. They cleaned off and made a perfectly flat surface. This is what you're looking for when you're going back together with a new clutch, so that the new clutch disc has something to bite into nice and clean. It doesn't get contaminated from oils or grease or dirt.